guys, and welcome to this week's video. This week's video, as highly requested by you guys after me doing my green only art supply challenge, I decided to use one of my least favourite colours. And that, of course, is the colour yellow. Now, yellow isn't my least favourite colour in the world, it's just my least favourite colour to work with. It's not one of my favourite colours in the entire world to work with, just because I don't like the tonal range. But the first thing I wanted to do was show off the equipment I'm using and swatch them all. So the first thing I'm using is my Winsor & Newton / Letraset Pro markers, and these are all the yellow colours I've got. I really love these markers, I can't fault them enough. I'm also using the Arteza fine liners. These are water based, so if you're using watercolours with these, you can get a really nice tonal effect. I'm using a koi colouring brush and an Arteza watercolour brush, some Prismacolor and Polychromos pencils. Just because I really like both of these brands. These Equaline water based inks, these are really nice to use. I've used these a few times. Some Zig clean colour real brush. I picked these up in a sale, I've never tried them before. I thought they'd be fun to try out. My Bolton acrylic paint, just because I thought if a colour doesn't work, I can build up some really strong base colours with these. I'm also going to be using my Winsor & Newton watercolour palette. This is a palette that is very, very loved. I've had this for the last 3 years. I haven't bought another palette yet, just because I don't want to waste a palette that I've already got. I was thinking of getting a professional grade palette at some point, and or upgrading this palette to a professional grade palette, but I've got to save up for that first anyway. But I'm using all the yellows that I have here, which, as you can see, is a nice tonal range that I have. Some are very, very light to a very dark. And the character design I'm doing is based on this sunflower witch, which I did based on one of my best friends. The cat is a cross between a sunflower and a cat, and I thought it would be really good to complement the prickles piece. And maybe if I do more of these colour challenges, I'll do more plant-based cats. Let me know what you think in the comments section down below. I like this sort of idea of crossing animals with plants. It's one of my favourite things to do. You're kind of like crossing two different things. And I'm just testing the colours to see kind of what ideas I can go for. So the first thing I do is sketch out with my Polychromos. I always find that if you are going to sketch anything, sketch very, very lightly, and then you can build up your colours on top. I then use my markers to base where I want things, where I want certain colours. Yet again, referring back to my swatches so that I always know what colours I'm using, and I can build up texture on top of the markers. This is a great way to base down exactly what it is that you want, and then build up texture on top using your different equipment. I use the fine liners to define certain areas, especially where I want the deeper shadows, because I've got the darker yellows, which is the deeper colour yellows, to the lighter yellows, and I'm working from light to dark, because once you've gone very dark with your colours, it's very difficult to come back out of that. I try to avoid using any white pen or any white in the area, just so that I was using mainly only the colour yellow. I thought this would be a good way to really challenge myself without using my white gel pen, and that is very difficult for me. I always like to use white gel pen to add little highlights and little textures, but you know, it happens. So why is yellow one of my least favourite colours? It's a colour that I really find very difficult to work with. It's a very bright, vibrant colour, and I find that if you want to add colder shadows, you tend to want to use like a bluey green. If you want to add warmer shadows, I tend to use like a warm purple tone, and yellow is sort of like this very bright colour, and I don't really use it a lot in my illustrations unless I'm using like brighter areas. So if I'm using green, I'll use a yellow as a brighter area to pop out that green. I don't tend to use it as a base colour. I have done illustrations only using yellow in the past, but it is just something that it's not one of my favourite colours to work with. I love the colour yellow. I think it's very bright and very vibrant, but it's just my least favourite colour to colour with, and I can imagine there are colours that people just genuinely don't get on with. I tend to avoid warm palettes. I'm very much a earth tone or a cool tone sort of person, and these challenges are great for pushing yourself out of your boundaries and not really kind of pushing yourself outside of what you would normally use. And I think that's what's great about palette challenges. You need to challenge yourself to push yourself out of your comfort zones to understand greater tonal ranges. Now, I never used to work with colour. In fact, before I went to university, I would pretty much only do line work and sketching. So over the years, I have been pushing myself to work more and more with colour so that then I understand what I'm doing. I know this challenge is a fairly popular one on YouTube, and it's because it genuinely is a good way of trying out different supplies and seeing how they work. Now, you don't have to have all the supplies under the sun to do this. I even think, like, if you have colouring pencils and watercolours, you could even try out this challenge and just limit yourself to one palette. Even if you don't have all the art supplies under the sun, you don't necessarily need it. I just have quite a few of these art supplies, mainly because of one, reviews, and one because I really wanted to see how my style would work with those supplies. I've been playing around with acrylics a lot lately because I never really have used acrylics before. I wanted to try that out. I've only just recently got some gouache and have been playing around with that to see what I think of that, because I never had all these bits of equipment to play around with. So when I get a chance, I try and pick up some supplies to play around with, because I know I don't work well with oils, so I know that I can avoid that. But I'm finding that I'm kind of enjoying mixed media pieces and trying out different things. For example, a few years ago, I used to only do digital art and then used to only do marker art. And it's only since I started the YouTube channel that I thought about branching out, and now I use coloured pencils as well as my markers, as well as my watercolours, to be able to build up different textures and try out different things. And I think that's been really nice to be able to do. I really do like this piece. I wish there was some areas where I could push the colours a little bit more. I just think it's all too one tone. It's too yellow. I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think this piece was successful? Do you think I could do something differently? What do you know? Let me know in the comment section down below. Have you tried this challenge before? And if so, share with us your results. I think it's always great when we can share our work and show off what we try to do with the same challenge. I know Draw with Waffles has done plenty of these challenges, and her work that she's done with them has been fantastic, and I think it's always good to try out all these things. I mean, I have quite a few art supplies that I got for reviews, and even I'm thinking that I've got too many and I want to do a purge at some point, just because I find that once I've found the equipment that I really like, I kind of stick to it, and I'd rather someone else get the use out of the art supplies than me having them sit there doing nothing, because that's not fair on the art supplies. I mean, I do have a few more art supplies that are the colour yellow, so this isn't every single art supply that I have with the colour yellow. These are just the art supplies that I tend to use the most these days. I mean, maybe in the future you'll see me do one of these art challenges and I'll be trying it with a little bit of gouache mixed in, or maybe adding a bit of inks to it, because I do have inks as well, like some drawing inks, but I just think I didn't want to have every art supply under the sun on this piece. I mean, that would be a challenge and the table would be entirely full with lots of different art supplies, but these tend to be the supplies that I use the most, but not necessarily altogether. Pretty much the hardest point of this was, as I was here, I was just like, I just wish I had like a deep yellow liner just to like sharpen areas some more. Those fine liners, the Arteza ones, are pretty good, but the second I added any watercolor to them, they just bled because they are water based, and I could feel myself itching wanting to use like my brush liner or to use like my dip pen, but then I would end up doing brown outlines which doesn't have any yellow in the particular brown ink that I've got, so then it wouldn't fit the challenge really. I don't know, I find these challenges fun, and I think they are a great way to push yourself and try something different. Would you guys like to see this challenge done again, and what colour do you reckon I should do next time? And here's a look at all the art supplies I used. As always, the full list of the equipment I did use will be down below, as well as Amazon links if you want to check those out. They are Amazon affiliate links, so if you do purchase anything through there, I do get a little thing, and then I'll put them, anything that I do earn from there goes towards other YouTube videos as well. But here's the final looks of the piece, and overall I think I did okay. Like I said, it's not particularly my favourite colour, so I feel kind of like it's not the best work I've ever done. I like the character design though. I think this little sunflower cat is cute, but they definitely need a name. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment down below, and maybe subscribe if you're new. But as always folks, stay creative.